Hey everyone, wanted to do a little bit of a different video than I normally do today. Not a gameplay video, but I wanted to discuss cheating in Balatro, the games that I play, chess, Magic the Gathering, just cheating in those kinds of, you might call them abstract strategy games or card games, board games, whatever, online play, cheating sort of thing. I wanted to talk about it. And this topic came up, it's a few weeks old at this point, or a couple of weeks old, that had happened. There was a chess tournament called the pogchamps tournament on chess.com, which I think it involved some Twitch streamers, some popular people, and I play a lot on chess.com. I saw the event, and just to get right down to it, one of the players in the event, his name is DrLupo. I didn't know who he was until this happened. He cheated in the tournament. And for those who don't know, what does cheating mean in chess, and in particular chess.com? Usually it means getting any kind of outside assistance. That is, you have someone else helping you play better moves than you would normally play. Oftentimes that would be with a chess engine or a computer or something like that. The computers or chess engines that exist now are extremely powerful. They're much better than any human player who currently lives or who has existed throughout history. So if you're using the most powerful chess engine available, it's going to be better than any of the players. And the players in this tournament, I think they were all kind of Twitch streamers of various skill levels. They were all beginner to intermediate players, and DrLupo in particular, he's a beginner player, from what I could tell. And he also admitted it. He admitted to cheating, so this is a known thing, and we'll get more into that, the specifics of what happened. So I'm going to be talking about specifically cheating in things like chess, Magic the Gathering, and multiplayer online Balatro, although that's unofficial. Sticking to those, now I do want to point out that cheating exists in all levels of competition, all kinds of competition. We've all seen cheating in professional sports, steroids and things like that, and Deflategate, and plenty of scandals. That it does happen, absolutely. I'm not saying that it doesn't. And in esports and that sort of thing, there's definitely cheating there. I'm going to put those topics aside for now and focus specifically on the games that I'm talking about, the kind of abstract strategy games and card games that I particularly enjoy playing, and cheating when it comes to those. So what got me interested in this tournament is I saw that Hungrybox was playing. I believe his name is Juan de Biedma. He's famous, or what he's famous for is being a Melee, Super Smash Brothers Melee player, who I've actually followed him for a long time. And he actually went to the same university as me, University of Florida. I had graduated before he started. I'm a bit older than him, but I've been aware of him for a long time. And I was on chess.com, and I saw his picture, saw he was playing in this tournament. So I thought I would check it out. So I was watching the tournament. I watched some of the games. He's a beginner chess player, which is fine. It was still fun to watch. I didn't see the DrLupo game where he cheated. I didn't see all of the games. I only saw a couple of them, mainly the Hungrybox games, because that was what I was interested in. I like watching him play Melee. I wanted to see him play chess, which was fun. So anyway, that's kind of the story about how this all started, although I've been thinking about this cheating issue in these games for a long time. I mean, Magic the Gathering has had a lot of cheating scandals. I think there's been one recently. A judge was caught cheating while he was a player. He has a judge title as well, and he was playing in a tournament game, and he got caught cheating, having cards in his lap, the blatant kind of cheating. So this is something that's been going around. It's been something that's on my mind and a lot of players' minds. So I just thought I would talk about it. But, for fun, I thought I would start by analyzing the DrLupo's game and seeing where it's clear that he cheated. And he's already admitted to cheating. There's no real discussion about whether or not he cheated. We can go into the specifics of how he cheated or how bad it is or whatever, and I will do that. But just to make this a little bit more fun and lighthearted, at least for me, I did want to take a look at the game and kind of analyze it from my point of view. So I am not a particularly good chess player. I'm still somewhat a beginner. I'm between the 1100 and 1200 range right now, still trying to improve. And that might not mean a whole lot, but we can take a look at the other players in this tournament. This is DrLupo. He's playing white, and he's rated 600. That's definitely a beginner. I'm sure he knows the rules of chess and stuff like that, but that's a beginner rating. And then Wolfie rated 1340, intermediate player, better player than me. And for those who don't know the ELO ratings, and I'm not exact on this, I would expect a 1300 player to beat a 600 player maybe 95% of the time. It's a huge difference in skill level between those two. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, DrLupo is playing white. We just have kind of normal developing moves so far. Nothing particularly interesting. He missed a tactic there, but no big deal. So this is all fine. Blocks with the knight. Castles. Now the knight is pinned. What that means is that if DrLupo moves his knight, his queen will be open to capture. So he goes there. That's a mistake, but not a big deal. Takes with the other knight. And then now DrLupo blunders. Remember, that knight was pinned. He took the knight with his knight, so now he loses his queen. So apparently this is the point where he admitted that he started cheating. And there's a little bit of a question about, because he's gone through several iterations where he said that he started looking at chat for moves, because this was a live streaming event involving streamers. Of course, there was chat. So he was looking, or he claims, at least at first, I think he's kind of changed the story, that he was looking at chat for advice on what moves to play. And versus, looking at an engine in another analysis board and playing the best moves from the engine. So, I mean, that brings up an interesting point. I mean, first of all, someone in chat could be using an engine anyway and just putting the best moves in there. They could be doing that. He could have asked someone specifically who he knew who was in the chat to use an engine, or he could have just been lying and he was just using an engine himself anyway, and then he was kind of using chat as an excuse to make it seem like, it wasn't as bad what he was doing. To be honest, I don't think it really matters either way. It does kind of bring up an interesting point about streaming chess and chat and how much you can pay attention to chat. And there's kind of a cost benefit there, because it's impossible to tell people don't post moves in the chat or analysis in the chat while a game is going on. And I think chess.com, maybe they kind of look the other way. If you're not being blatant or taking advantage of it as a streamer, they like the idea of chess streaming and making people interested in chess, bringing more people into chess. And of course, one of the main ways you can participate is analyzing the game and suggesting moves and stuff like that. So it is kind of a double-edged sword. And in a sense, it cuts both ways, because you can stream snipe someone also if they're streaming chess. I don't know how big of a deal that is. But definitely, I mean, chess, you say it's a game with no hidden information, which is true. There is all the information that's there is available, but what is hidden is your opponent's intentions. And if they're explaining their plan, explaining their next move, exactly what they're going to do, and you're stream sniping them, you can take advantage of that. And I've even seen videos of the counter to that, where streamers are aware that they're being stream sniped and they suggest a bad move that their opponent plays, and then they kind of set a trap for them and fall into that. So it is interesting, the dynamic between chess and streaming, and the suggestion of moves from chat and stream sniping and all of those things. I would say, that's probably all a wash, as long as, and this is, again, it's really tough to say whether this is happening or not, but as long as everyone has good intentions of what they're trying to do, maybe you get a little bit of an advantage in some ways and a disadvantage streaming in other ways, but I think it's just better for the game overall if a lot of people get to watch and participate. But that's not what's happening here. Clearly, DrLupo is aiming to take an advantage of the situation. So anyway, at this point is where white, DrLupo, apparently started cheating, started looking for an outsider to help play the best moves, a computer outsider, a human outsider, doesn't matter. So he plays this check. The king is in check now from the bishop. And I, at my level, again, I'm kind of a beginner to intermediate player, so I know a little bit, but not a lot. I find this move a little bit unusual. Instead, I would expect that he would just take this bishop back right away. He lost his queen. He might as well take the material back. Like, I don't see why you would hesitate on that. You can make the argument, and again, we already know he cheated, so this is all hypothetical, for if another beginner player had a game like this, for example. Beginners in particular, they really like to play checks, and he saw this check and he decided to play it. So that could happen. And then you would also have to see the follow-up moves. Yes, you can take this pawn. If you take this pawn back, then you lose your rook, and a rook you lose your bishop to the queen, assuming that's the best move. Oh, you have to move your king, sorry. Then you could take this, and then you lose that, but you get a rook and a pawn. That's a good exchange. That would be good for white. Now, and you can see even the eval bar is saying, even though white has or black has a queen, they're not that much better. It's still somewhat even. So interesting that it works out that way. And you know, I'm not saying that a 600 player couldn't see all of that. That's going to be kind of a recurring theme of these moves, but it seems very unusual. I would expect them to just take it. And again, especially as a beginner, and I can speak from personal experience as well, you don't always see moves, and you don't always see obvious moves either. Like, you could make the argument that this check is more obvious than taking this bishop. Maybe. Now, of course, I'll reiterate, we know that didn't happen. We know he was cheating, but I'm just saying that could happen in a beginner game, sure. And maybe you play this check. You didn't see that whole follow-up, or you can win the rook as well. You could kind of just luck into that. I could definitely see that happening. But things are about to start getting a little bit stranger. So black moves his king. That's the best move. And then this move, yeah, takes the bishop back. No problem there. You know, moves his bishop to a safer square. I don't quite understand this move exactly. I would maybe want to try to get the rook out or something, but it's fine. And again, this is a higher rated player than me, so it might be a better move than what I picked. Now this move, this is a very strange move for a 600 rated player to make. Somewhat strange, maybe not very strange. He is attacking the bishop, but this pawn is free. There's nothing defending the pawn, so black can just take it, and that's it. So you would have to see the follow-up. Why would you play that? So again, we already know he cheated, but in defense of a beginner who plays a move like that, maybe he saw that he could attack the bishop that way. He didn't realize that his pawn was undefended. He was going to lose his pawn if he did that. Maybe he saw that. But that's the engine move. That's what the computer wants you to play. So that is the best move in the position. So again, you could kind of luck into it, but very strange for a beginner to play. Other than that, it attacks something. This move is even stranger. And now, you know, if you're a beginner, you're down a queen. Maybe you start making random moves. The rook doesn't really have anywhere else to go. But, you know, what I would do in this position, probably I would move this bishop. Maybe I would move it here, or, you know, maybe even here. I'm not sure. I would try to connect my rooks, get my bishop developed, get it off the back rank. You know, maybe even counterattack this bishop. Although, yeah, that's not the best idea because you're down a queen. You don't really want to trade. You want to try to keep your pieces on the board, I think, in this case. But this move, other than either desperation or you didn't know what to do, you're a beginner, you're flustered, you just make a random rook move, you know, you don't want to put it on the black square because then the bishop can just take it. And rooks are better than bishops, so yeah, you could capture back with the other bishop, but it's better to win the rook, so you just kind of move the rook out of the way randomly. Maybe, but that's very strange, and this is the engine move. And to be honest, I don't even fully understand why, even seeing the rest of the analysis. But yeah, very strange move for sure. Attack the bishop, that's fine. Move back, that's okay. Kind of defends the rook there in the future. You know, I would have probably moved the bishop here instead of here. So, but it's not a crazy move or anything. Attack the queen. Not unexpected. Moves this queen. And then this move also, you know, I think this move might be difficult for a beginner to find. It's lined up on the queen. This is very dangerous. The knight's in the way, but, you know, once you move the knight out of the way, the queen is under attack. Now, if you did that right away, let's see, random move. If you did that, then you would just lose your bishop. So that doesn't work. So you have to see why that's such a good move to make, other than the fact that it's just lined up with the queen. In fact, I probably wouldn't do this because it seems really dangerous to have this undefended bishop. Yes, it's lined up with the queen, but, you know, if the bishop is undefended, then I might lose it. And yeah, if I analyzed enough, maybe I could see it. Maybe I couldn't, why this is the best move in the position. But for a beginner to play this move, that's very weird, in my opinion. Like, maybe he saw, or we know he cheated, but maybe he could see that it was lined up on the queen, you know, and that was a good thing. I don't know. But this move in particular, it's like, I wouldn't expect a 600 player to make this move at all. Saves his queen. Still defending the pawn. The pawn's not under attack yet. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Attack the queen again. Takes the pawn. You know, that's not crazy. I think you could expect a beginner to attack the queen. I might have tried to hold on to that pawn if I could. Move the bishop first, but not a big deal. Definitely going after the queen is something normal, I would say. Attack the queen again. That's fine. Pack. And then this knight move also, you know, I don't know about this one. Like, I'm not exactly sure why you would do that. But it's the best engine move, so got to be a good follow-up. Moves, attack the queen again. That's good. That's good. Wins the bishop, and that's ultimately why he was attacking the bishop. Here comes the rook. Yeah, I would expect a beginner to take this rook also, and then you have a follow-up check. Not that that's good. I mean, this is better. Your back rank is defended by the other rook, so that's fine. Now he's threatening checkmate. So he defends the checkmate. Again, I think this is would be a difficult thing for a beginner to see. I'm not sure exactly what he might play. I think maybe he would go after the queen with the pawn, like a normal 600 rated player who wasn't cheating. But you have to see that now this square is defended. So if they go there with the queen, you can take with the rook. Other rook comes in, you can take the rook. So that's bad for black. But yeah, moving the bishop there is just, it's a powerful move, and I think, you know, an intermediate player might see it. I would think I would be able to see a move like that, but a 600 rated player, probably not. Attack the knight. This move also, you know, it's not a crazy move because the knight doesn't have that many squares to go, but you have to notice that the knight is defended by the bishop. Not crazy, but still not super simple either. Attack the bishop again, and then this move also, you have to ignore the threat on your bishop. So first of all, you're counter-attacking the rook, which is good. Second, the bishop doesn't really have anywhere to go. You can't go here and attack the queen because the bishop is undefended. And then if you go to d2, then you run into checkmate immediately. So, you know, again, don't know that a beginner would see that necessarily, but they might see that they can't move their bishop anywhere anyway, so it's better for them to move their knight, or, you know, attack something with their knight or something like that. They win a free pawn here, they're attacking the rook. Maybe a beginner would see all that, but so this move isn't like super crazy, but I would think about if I were a beginner trying to save my bishop, or maybe even just taking this pawn with the bishop or something like that. So yeah, this move not too crazy, but yeah. And then black blunders, Wolfie. And then this move also, I think it's pretty hard for a beginner to see. It's the bishop is defended by the knight. You're attacking the queen, and the knight's defended. So if he takes your knight, you take his queen. You could take your bishop also, but then you take his queen. So pretty much the queen just has to move at this point. And yeah, you can see that black is in a really bad position after that blunder. But this move in particular, I think it's going to be really tough for a beginner to see. And again, it's tough. I mean, we know he cheated, so it's a bit of a moot point, but could a beginner stumble into this by accident? Sure, I mean, those things happen. Maybe he didn't see everything. He just saw that he was attacking the queen. He didn't even realize that it was defended by the knight. Maybe he could see that. Yeah, impossible to say. Saves his queen, sort of. Well, no, I mean, he doesn't save his queen because now it's attacked by the other bishop. So this move also, this upcoming move, is a strange one to me as well. Check with the knight. Now, if I were, I mean, even now, I would have just taken his queen. I wouldn't have bothered with this intermezzo knight check. I'm already down a queen. I can win a queen back. I'm just going to take it now. And then I'm up 2 pieces. I mean, yeah, I lose the bishop, but then I'm up a knight. I'm up a bishop. You know, life is good. So there's no reason for me to even consider other moves, quite honestly. If I were in this position, I would just take the queen back. And yeah, especially in because I think this was a rapid time control. Yeah, 10 minutes. So the players have 10 minutes each. This is a situation strategically where I would say, you know, I know that taking the queen back has to be a good move. The likelihood that I'm stumbling into something bad by taking the queen back here is so low. I'm not even going to consider other moves. I wouldn't even look at any other moves probably with 2 minutes left on my clock. I would just say, let me take the queen. Let me save my time for more difficult moves in the future. Like winning a queen can't be bad, right? Or trading a queen for a bishop. And I'm down a queen. Like, that's got to be good for me. So this move in particular is like, wow. And it kind of goes back to earlier where I was saying where you played the other check, the other intermezzo check before taking the bishop back with a rook. Kind of the same situation where a beginner, there's a chess expression, Potzer sees a check, Potzer plays a check. A Potzer is like a chess beginner. So, a beginner could see a check, play a check. So yeah, this could happen, but I would think that you would be so dazzled by wanting to take this queen that you would do it right away. But yeah, obviously that didn't happen, and the engine saw the whole follow-up to this. Check again, still doesn't take the queen. Once again, very unusual. Wins a pawn, it's check, etc. Now he takes the queen because there's a follow-up checkmate coming. Goes there. Once again, I don't understand this move. This is the engine move. Like, what makes this move so good? Yeah, you're going to attack the king. The king doesn't have anywhere to go, so this is checkmate pretty much if you can move the bishop there. So that's why. Would a beginner see that? I doubt it. I think that's really difficult to see. Kind of shuffling your bishop around like that, especially, and you look at the clocks, he's got like 30 seconds left. Like, could a 600 rated player see that in a puzzle or something like that? Yeah, maybe, probably. It's not that crazy of a move, but it's just kind of like you're working on repositioning your piece here. This is like a positional move. It doesn't attack anything. It doesn't give you any kind of advantage or anything like that. You're just moving your piece into place, and then you have to realize that the king doesn't have anywhere to go. It's restricted by the rook, and then the knight is blocking it here, so the king is trapped. So you just got to move your bishop in, and with less than a minute for a beginner to see all of that, I think it's unlikely. So anyway, this is a losing move. Plays the check, can block with the rook, take with the rook, which again, you'd have to know that that's the correct move. You're supposed to take with the rook instead of the bishop. King can't move, and this is checkmate. Beautiful revealed checkmate, because the rook is gunning here, the bishop is putting in a check, and then the knight is blocking also. So you're kind of, there's a bunch of things that happen here all at once that for the engine it is obvious. For a very high rated player, I think would be able to see these moves easily. I think I could see the moves, but with 30 seconds, maybe not. Like in this position, I'd probably take with the bishop without considering it too much. Once I'm at 30 seconds, I try to move quickly. I'm not really thinking about moves anymore. Pretty likely that I would take with the bishop here, which is not terrible, but it doesn't lead to checkmate like the other position does where you take with the rook. So take with the rook, and then here comes the other rook here. You can't really do anything else at this point. It's already a forced checkmate. Then, I might even take the rook. I probably would. I think a lot of beginners would take the rook as well. I mean, that's kind of why you had your knight there in the first place, not to set up checkmate necessarily. Now, it's funny because this still leads to a forced checkmate. So, he was just winning either way, which I'm not going to bother to find it. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, again, this is all just for fun more than anything else. Like I said before, we here admitted to cheating. We know he cheated. So, we don't have to analyze, oh, could a beginner play this move? I just wanted to give that analysis because it was just kind of fun for me. And just as an interstitial in the video talking about a pretty grave topic, cheating. So yeah, wanted to go through that. And I like analyzing chess games. I haven't done it really on a video yet, so yeah, just thought I'd do that. So, this kind of brings up a question of why do people cheat in games like this, in chess and in Magic the Gathering and Balatro and any of these kinds of games? What is the trigger for people to cheat in those games? And I think some people ask the question, like, why would you bother cheating? You don't get anything out of it. I mean, in this case, I think maybe there was some prize money on the line, although I thought it was for charity, so it's not quite clear to me. In some cases, there might be prize money on the line. You're talking about Magic the Gathering tournaments and stuff like that. That could definitely be the case where there's real money. But so many people cheat when there's nothing on the line at all. And I think some people ask, why cheat then? You're going to likely get caught. You don't get anything out of playing the game. You don't understand why people would cheat. I'm going to say, I understand. I understand the temptation. I understand why you might cheat. And from my perspective, you want to be good at the game. And particularly when you're tilting, and tilting is a whole other topic, but there could be lots of mental states that you're in of frustration and self-doubt and a lack of confidence and whatever it might be that it would compel you to cheat. And who knows, maybe you're thinking, I just really need a win. I just want to do it this one time. And once you do it one time, maybe it becomes easier. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I can see the temptation being there. And also from my perspective, these are maybe kind of outsider hobbies. I'm a nerd, a huge nerd. I admit that. I love nerdy games and stuff like this. And if you're not doing well at it and you're losing a lot, you're losing consistently, especially if you dedicated a lot of time and effort to try to get better at these things and you're still not performing well. It's a hit to your ego. Absolutely. I feel that it's almost like the universe is insulting your intelligence, maybe. Really easy to feel that way. I felt that way. And I think, in my opinion, that at least in part is what brings up some of the temptation for people to cheat. Then you get a victory, you don't get those terrible feelings of not being good enough, quite frankly. And I think people, especially outsiders to these hobbies and games, they might say, it's just a game. Like, why do you care? I don't feel that way. I understand. I know it's not just a game. It's not just a game for me. I mean, I dedicate a lot of time and effort into learning these games, playing them, understanding them, getting deeper on them, discussing them. Like, it's more to me than just a game. That is to say, like, the consequences of winning or losing don't matter at all. No, I'm invested. I am. And I know that a lot of you guys feel that way too. Absolutely. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't do it. And you almost certainly wouldn't cheat. There are probably other motivations for cheating too, especially if we're talking about money or whatever. But I think that is one of the main things. Then we also have to ask, like, from DrLupo's perspective, or kind of an outsider-ish to the hobby, still a beginner, is it really that big of a deal to cheat? Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't know about the endemic chess cheating problem on chess.com. I just had a couple of games refunded on chess.com from cheaters. I'm not going to get into chess.com and cheating. I think lots of other people have talked about it. Some have said that it's happening too much. Others say that it is a problem, but it's overblown. I'm just going to say that it does happen, clearly. And so what I would say to someone like DrLupo or anyone who wants to get into chess is that you're really undermining the community, you're undermining the game if you cheat. Maybe it's not a big deal to you. Maybe you're like, oh, if I cheat and I get caught and I get kicked out, which DrLupo did, his account got closed, like, I just won't play anymore and I don't care. So that's fine. I'm just saying that you're hurting a lot of people who are invested and who do care. And maybe you care about that, maybe you don't, but that's really just the way that it is. Like, and it applies to all of these games for anyone who's coming in and saying, like, it's not a big deal if I get caught. I don't care that much. I just won't play anymore anyway. You're undermining the game and the hobby for everyone else. So maybe something to consider if you are being tempted by cheating. Maybe. People think differently than I do, and you have different motivations and reasons for doing what you do, but I hope maybe you'll consider that at least a little bit before you give into the temptation of cheating. That I'm impacting a community, I'm impacting a group of people, I'm devaluing the game that I'm playing while cheating. And I would also posit, if you are cheating, other than for like very specific circumstances, like you're trying to win money or something like that, which in that case is like stealing, I would say that's a crime, and it's got other consequences that go along with that. But if you're just doing it for your own sake, really you're just making things worse for yourself. If you cheat and then you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to be facing more and more competitive people, presumably. Like if you have a long cheating chess career and your rating is really high, you're not legitimately at that rating. You're only going to be playing games against people who don't match your skill level, and that just makes it harder for you. Like, why do that to yourself? You don't get any benefit from that. Yeah, it's frustrating if you're stuck and you're not doing well and you want to improve, but you want to do that naturally. You don't get anything out of doing that through cheating. At least that's what I would posit to you. So yeah, it is frustrating to be stuck. It is frustrating to face a string of losses and kind of go up and down and not be able to improve and get better. And that's a different topic, talking about things like tilt or improving your game and in these things we're talking about, taking a break, all of that. Those are all good topics to discuss. And maybe we can do that at another point. This video would be too dense if I was going to get into all of those things. But that said, none of those should be a motivation to cheat, in my view, because ultimately you just make it harder on yourself. You're just going to put yourself at an artificial skill level that you're not prepared for and get nothing out of it, other than you get to see the victory screen or something like that, that maybe you get a little dopamine hit there. And yeah, again, that's the temptation of cheating, I suppose. So, and then of course there are the natural consequences. If you get caught cheating, you get kicked out. And yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about that and the consequences for cheating. So hopefully I've been able to convince, even if it's one person, that there are better reasons not to cheat than to cheat in these kinds of endeavors. And that you should care. You should care about the integrity of the game. You should care about being at an appropriate skill level and facing opponents that you should be facing in order to get where you need to go. So yeah, I think it's better for you not to cheat. Now, kind of looking at the other side of that is how we go after cheaters. And I'm taking a bit of a different tack here. And using the DrLupo case in particular, I think people rightfully were very angry at DrLupo for cheating in chess. I'll reiterate what I said before. Maybe he didn't realize the extent of what he was doing, damaging the integrity of chess as an online game, hurting the community. He didn't see the consequences of all of those things ahead of time. Or maybe he didn't care, that could be. That said, he faced the consequences for what he did. I mean, his account was closed. He got kicked out of the tournament. Everything that should have happened to him did happen. So at this point, I would say what you want to say. You shouldn't have cheated, and here's why. But then I think it's good to just kind of be done with it. I mean, we don't have to ruin this person's whole life and whole career because they made a mistake. They made a mistake. They gave in to temptation. Whether or not they knew the extent of the damage they were doing by doing this, I don't know. But they faced the consequences of what they should have faced. Again, that they got kicked out and everything. So that is what should have happened. In a sense, justice was served. It was an appropriate response, and that's what happened. So yeah, I'm not saying, I wasn't even aware of DrLupo before. I don't know him. I don't really know anything about him. I understand that he does some charity work and stuff like that. So, it seems like a nice, normal guy, streamer, career streamer kind of person. But again, I don't know him one way or the other. But that said, that after all this happened, I think he's faced the consequences he needed to face. And there's nothing that we gain or benefit from going after him again and again and, trying to ruin him. And, he's a streamer. You have a right to choose what streamers you watch, what entertainment you pursue, whether you want to support him or not. If you were supporting him before and you don't want to do that now, that's a personal choice that's totally up to you. But I don't think that at this point there's any reason to go after him and try to ruin him as a person or as a streamer or as a human being just because he made a mistake for which he faced consequences. And he also apologized. And that there's a whole question about, well, he said that he was getting help from chat, but he was really using an engine. We don't know that. Does it really matter? Again, maybe people in chat were posting engine moves anyway. So again, kind of a moot point. And then he's come out with subsequent apologies and stuff like that. And yeah, I would just say from my perspective, he apologized. Apologies almost always are not going to be satisfactory to you as an individual, especially a public apology. I mean, he's apologizing to a huge community of people. He's not apologizing individually to you, so it's not like he's going to hit all of the points that you want him to and that you're going to feel satisfied if you felt like you were slighted by his apology. That's just not going to happen. So from me, at least, I'd say I'll accept his apology. he got kicked out, he got banned, faced the consequences. It's time to move on. You know, honestly, I wasn't watching him before. I don't really know what he does. I have no particular plans to watch him now, but I wouldn't be against it either if he were streaming Balatro perhaps, or a game that I wanted to watch or something like that. You know, I'm just ready to move on from this. But yeah, all of that being said, I think I like looking at the cheating from both sides. First of all, don't cheat. Hopefully I've laid out the reasons why you don't need to. It's not strictly that you shouldn't, although you shouldn't, but you don't need to do it, first of all. And second of all, we're all humans. We all make mistakes. We all give into temptation. We all have an opportunity or a need to apologize for something we've done wrong. We'll face the consequences of those mistakes. We should. And those things should be handled appropriately. You know, if someone is cheating on chess.com, they should have their account closed. And maybe not permanently banned. Maybe they can come back with a fresh account and start over, whatever it is. But that should happen. But, you know, people give into temptation and they do make those mistakes all the time. And just, I think as a society, as a community, we should be willing to forgive people and accept that and move on. In addition to trying to do the right thing in this case, which I would say is not cheating in the first place. And this applies definitely to everything that I've said. Applies not just to chess, but all of those communities, Balatro, multiplayer. I know there's been some cheating accusations, even though it's unofficial, and Magic the Gathering kind of ebbs and flows, I think, in its cheating scandals. That does happen. We should, as players, avoid cheating, talk about why we shouldn't cheat, encourage other people not to. And if we should be vigilant about cheating and investigate it appropriately. And cheaters should face consequences. They should be, dismissed or disqualified from play in accordance with how much they cheated. I think you have to take the context into account. All those things matter. But again, just as human beings and as members of the same society, be able to accept apologies, and if we did the wrong thing, accept our consequences, forgive each other, like each other again, and move on from that. And yeah, I mean, if someone cheats, it's said psychologically, you're never going to forget it. So I get that. And you can be vigilant and, skeptical of someone who's cheated in the past, and they've apologized and they've come back. You're always going to be skeptical, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, I think maybe tone it down just a little bit on trying to say that people who cheat at these games or whatever are absolutely terrible people who deserve to have their lives destroyed. That's just simply not the case. So kind of coming at it from both sides, I'm asking for just better behavior overall, I suppose. And hopefully this helps a little bit. Hopefully I was able to do my part. I don't know. But yeah, I'll be back with some Balatro build soon this week. Absolutely. Looking forward to that. I finished a red streak. I did all 15 decks on red stake without losing, which is cool. So I'll be back soon. Did it without cheating, obviously. But glad I was able to get to talk about this, and it was fun analyzing the game and everything. And I hope that this was an insightful viewpoint, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.